Okay, so the next presentation, thank you very much, Greg. The next presentation is about the Atlantis Water Resource Management Scheme. Water resource management is people management. And we didn't meet yet. Your name was? Luke. Okay, great. Thanks, Luke. When you're ready. I'll tell you in 1 minute to go.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Luke Towers. I'm from Mvoto, Africa, in Cape Town, South Africa. And as mentioned, I'll be discussing the Atlantis Water Resource Management Scheme and try and allude to how resource management is people management. So the Atlantis Water Resource Management Scheme, or AWRMS, just to avoid the mouthful, has been operating since the 1970s, and it's renowned within Southern Africa. It demonstrates cost-effective and wise water use and recycling through visionary town planning and managed aquifer recharge that offers water security to both the industrial and the domestic sectors of the town of Atlantis, which is near Cape Town in South Africa. So the scheme's design facilitates the separation of the town's industrial and domestic waters. So the domestic stormwater and treated effluent is sent to 2 infiltration basins to enhance the yield from the well fields, while the lesser quality industrial stormwater and treated effluent is diverted to coastal recharge basins, providing a saline intrusion barrier. So a combination of mismanagement, prolific biofouling, vandalism, and readily available surplus surface water were negative drivers for the Atlantis scheme. In the year 2000, Atlantis was connected to a surface water supply system, after which it fell into disrepair with elevated groundwater levels and increased contamination risk due to ongoing uncontrolled MAR. So there was a drought in the Western Cape recently, and the emergency response to the drought has driven the refurbishment of the scheme. So since early 2018, groundwater has once again replaced surface water as the sole supply of water to the town of Atlantis, supplying up to about a peak demand of 20 million litres a day. So that image there just shows you how a marked decrease in groundwater abstraction, but ongoing MAR, resulting in the elevated groundwater levels. So for the Atlantis scheme to be a success, it required the integration of its water supply, wastewater, and stormwater systems, each of which require a multidisciplinary management approach. In previous years, under the then Cape Divisional Council, this was a much easier task than it is today, where the numerous components of the scheme are distributed between several different departments of the larger city of Cape Town municipality. So adding to challenges of interdepartmental cooperation and communication is also the heterogeneity and vulnerability of the primary sand aquifer. So evidence of the scheme's neglect can be seen by the reduction in observation and monitoring points from over 400 in previous years to just under 50 more recently. So we've slowly started picking that up again as we refurbish the system. The ongoing collection of data without meaningful interpretation by the municipality has potential catastrophic impacts on the future of the scheme. An example of this is the historical and ongoing intent of the government to develop the industrial sector. And the reality is that the domestic component is growing, and this has far-reaching impacts on the associated volumes and qualities of waters that are passing through the scheme and being recharged. So without this data being turned into usable information, decision makers continue to be misled and make decisions based on these misnomers. So the fractured nature of the management system shows how the scheme was historically managed. This can be telescoped out to the scale of the national regulator, who are largely inadequate to enforce the regulations that we've got, as well as to a local scale, something as small as a single employee in the day-to-day running of the scheme. So our recent efforts in optimization have highlighted the need to fix the root of the problem, which we consider to be consolidating the management components into a single entity. So just to run through those, we've got the national government and then the hierarchy as you see it there. So it's encouraging that by trying to consolidate this into one managing authority, the City of Cape Town's Bulk Water Department have undertaken the responsibility, and they've agreed that they would manage each of the different components of the entire MAR scheme. So with a larger National Water Resource Authority, the Department of Water and Sanitation, being inadequate to effectively enforce appropriate management of the scheme, the municipality is committed to hold itself accountable to existing legislation. This sees a reworking of the historical hierarchy of management, where the top level, or your national, supplies legislation but doesn't have the capacity to enforce it. The previous lower levels of management can now be brought up to be an all-inclusive and unified entity. In this way, decision makers and operational entities of the scheme are in a better position to receive relevant information, coordinate their efforts, and shift from a reactive to a proactive culture. Participation of all relevant stakeholders, a single and unified managing authority, practicing accountability, and valuing modern and increased understanding of physical hydrogeological processes improves the assurance of supply for the Atlantis scheme moving forward in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great, thanks very much, Luke. Just take a seat at the front if you wouldn't mind, in case we have time for questions there.